Bro, I need you to read between the lines with me on this one, because what Megan Thee Stallion put out this weekend was not just a breakup statement. It was not just an Instagram story. When you actually sit with the words she chose, when you look at what she revealed and what she held back, and when you understand the full weight of what this woman has been carrying over the last several years, something completely different emerges. This is not the story of a celebrity couple calling it quits. This is the story of a woman who let someone all the way in, gave everything she had, and then had to process a very real and very painful betrayal in real time while the entire world was watching. Stay with me, because by the time we get to the final third of this video, you are going to feel this story differently than you did when you clicked on it. Let me take you back to the beginning properly, because the emotional weight of what happened this weekend only makes sense if you understand where Megan was coming from before any of this started. Megan Thee Stallion is 31 years old, 3 Grammy Awards, one of the most successful women in hip-hop over the last 5 years. But the public version of her success story sits on top of a personal journey that has been genuinely brutal in ways most people do not fully appreciate. She lost her mother in 2019. She was shot in 2020 and then spent years having to defend that truth publicly while half the internet questioned her. She went through a legal battle that dragged on for years and played out in front of everyone. She had a relationship end after accusations of infidelity that were denied at first and then quietly confirmed. She processed all of that publicly, through her music, through her social media, through interviews, while maintaining a level of professionalism that honestly, most people in her position would not have been able to sustain. So when she came out in the summer of 2025 and said she had met someone, and when that someone turned out to be Klay Thompson, and she described meeting him as a freaking movie, people who had been paying attention understood what that meant. It meant she had let her guard down again. It meant she had decided, after everything, to trust someone again. And that is not a small thing for someone who has been through what she has been through. Klay Thompson, 5-time All-Star, 4 championships, one of the most respected players of his generation. They went public quietly, the way celebrity couples always do. Someone spotted in the background of a social media post, the internet clocking it before either of them confirmed anything. And then they stopped hiding it. Red carpet at her own gala, holidays together, meeting his family. She was cooking for him, showing up fully, operating like a real long-term partner. He named his boat after her, the SS Stallion. That is the kind of gesture that tells a woman you are serious. That is the kind of gesture that makes someone believe in forever. And then April 25th happened. Here is where it gets crazy. Saturday afternoon, Megan goes on her Instagram story, and within minutes, screenshots are everywhere. And what she wrote, if you actually read it slowly instead of just reacting to the headline, carries a level of pain that is almost uncomfortable to sit with. She wrote that he had been cheating, that he had her around his whole family playing house, that she had been holding him down through what she described in full capitals as horrible mood swings and treatment towards her during his basketball season. And then the line that made the whole internet stop. She revealed that Klay had told her he was not sure he could be monogamous. Bro, read that back. This woman described meeting him as a movie. She said he was the nicest person she had ever met in her life. She was manifesting her engagement publicly as recently as February, and behind closed doors, the man she was building a future with looked at her and said he did not know if he could be faithful. That is not just a betrayal. That is a collapse of the entire reality she thought she was living in. She ended the story by saying she needed a real break after this one. And if you know Megan's history, if you understand the weight of everything she has already been through before this relationship even started, those words hit completely different. A real break. Not a dramatic exit, not a performance, just a woman who was exhausted and honest about it. The reaction was immediate and it was everywhere. And what was striking about it was not just the volume, but the tone. Because this did not feel like the usual celebrity drama reaction where people are entertained by the chaos. This felt like something more personal. People who have never followed basketball, people who barely follow hip-hop, were sharing her words and talking about them in the context of their own lives.
I saw this photo and I'm pissed off all over again. You had her looking like she was an in-law. You had her looking like she was in. You had her looking like y'all really loved her. Y'all really cared about her. Playing in her face like that. And the parents, they knew how their son was and how he is. And honestly, I am happy that she's no longer with him because he did not love her. He did not love her at all. A man who chooses to love a woman, especially a woman like Meg. She's lost her parents, her grandparents, the shooting with stupid ass, the leprechaun, getting dragged, people smearing her name, going through so much. A man who loves a woman like Meg will do any and everything to make sure she does not get hurt anymore. He will make sure that he was a safe space for her. And he played her with that. He made it seem like he was a safe space for her and played her. And I think that's the reason why she made her IG story. She posted that because she doesn't really talk about her breakups. He really bamboozled her. He really played it. And we all really thought that he was good for her. We also got bamboozled.
And that is because what Megan described is something that does not require fame or context to understand. Being fully committed to someone who is enjoying every benefit of that commitment while secretly refusing to match it. Showing up completely for someone who is giving you half of themselves in return. That is not a celebrity experience. That is something millions of people have lived through. And she articulated it with a clarity that resonated way beyond her existing fan base. Here is the part that reframes everything, and this is what I want you to sit with. After the Instagram story, Megan released an official statement, and the way she wrote it tells you more about where she is emotionally than anything else she has said publicly. She said trust, fidelity, and respect are non-negotiable for her in a relationship. She said when those values are compromised, there is no real path forward. And she said she has taken the time to prioritize herself and move ahead with peace and clarity. Now on the surface, that reads as composed and final, and it is. But underneath the composure, there is something that is easy to miss if you are moving too fast. The word prioritize. She is taking time to prioritize herself. That is not the language of someone who is fine. That is the language of someone who has spent a significant amount of time and emotional energy prioritizing someone else and is now having to consciously redirect that back towards themselves. That is a woman who gave a lot and is now in the process of reclaiming it. And then there is the detail she chose to lead with in her Instagram story. Not the mood swings, not the cold feet, not even the monogamy admission. She led with cheating. She led with the family. She led with playing house. That specific sequencing is not accidental. She wanted you to understand the full investment she had made before you understood the extent of the betrayal. She was not just telling you what he did, she was telling you what it cost her. And that is an emotional intelligence that goes way beyond venting on social media. Sources familiar with the situation describe someone who, in the days since the story broke, has been leaning on her inner circle, processing privately what she chose to share publicly, and taking the weight of this seriously rather than brushing past it. Nobody close to her is describing someone who is unbothered. They are describing someone who is working through something real, and doing it with the same strength she has brought to every other difficult chapter of her life. So here is where everything actually lands. Megan Thee Stallion did not just break up with Klay Thompson this weekend. She processed a real betrayal in real time in front of the entire world, with more clarity and more dignity than the situation deserved. She was not performing. She was not clout chasing. She was a woman in pain telling the truth and then making a decision that was completely aligned with her values. And then she had to sit with the reality that the story she thought she was living was not the story he was telling himself. That is a specific kind of pain, and she handled it publicly with a level of grace that most people would not have been able to maintain. The prioritizing myself line in her statement is not a closing sentiment. It is the beginning of the next chapter. And knowing how Megan processes pain, knowing what she has turned every other difficult moment in her life into, that next chapter is going to be worth paying attention to. Klay Thompson said nothing. Megan Thee Stallion said everything that needed to be said. And the difference between those two responses tells you everything you need to know about where both of them actually are right now. Drop a comment and let me know. Do you think Megan addresses this in her next project? And do you think Klay ever actually breaks his silence? Subscribe if you are new, and I will see you in the next one.